if you two are finding yourselves week after week in that same spot of we know exactly what to do, we know we need to spend more time together, but it's not happening, somehow the in theory or on paper belief or want of yes, this is a priority, our marriage is a priority for us, is not translating into your real life, into how you're spending your weeks, this video is for you. I find myself, and couples will come and be like, yep, we're still in the same place, right? One week, next week, like literally this can happen sometimes for weeks on end without realizing that in order for that to change, they're going to have to change something that they're doing, right? The first question that I ask them is, and this goes back to the basic time principle, right? That says, if we're going to say yes to something, you're by default saying no to something else. And so when we take that into how are we spending time together as a couple, what are you two doing that, takes away from the time that you two would have? What is it that you're willing to say no to? What is it that you're going to say no to? Because that's the only way to make this happen. What is it that you're going to say no to create space for each other, to be able to say yes to your marriage? And for some of you, you're like, but you can't be serious. You can't ask me to not do any of the things that we love to do. But I love going golfing. I love spending time with my friends. I love hanging out with our family. I love doing all the things that we're doing for our kids. I love going on runs and going camping and doing happy hours and watching whatever kind of basketball games and football and fill in the blank what else you're into. I'm not saying you need to do this forever, but I am saying you might have to do this for a time. You might have to say, I'm happy to say no to this if that means that the two of us are going to be able to get to a place that we like so much more than where we are now. Some of you maybe have done this for work, the concept of time study, and I will, the couples that are like unable to tell me from the get-go, right, that can't come up with things of like, I don't know, life just, it all just gets filled up, right? It's like somebody else is going to your calendar and filling out all the spots, right, that are available in the time that you're awake. And we all know that, right, if we keep doing the same thing, you can't plan, the plan can't be that, oh, we're just, right, we're leaving everything the way that it is, but we're going to plan, like, the time that we have available is between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Like, our date time, our time spending together will be during that time. I'm going to give you a week, maybe 10 days, 2 weeks at most, before you, like, crash and burn or, like, okay, this is not sustainable. We can't keep our life the way that it is and then, right, sort of juice ourselves all the way to the end where we don't get any sleep, or right, like that's not a life. And so looking at, sometimes some people will actually need to, I don't know if this is you, but sometimes you have to go and look at your calendar and just, and I don't know if you will have to do, right, like hour by hour, like 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. What am I doing? 9 p.m. Oh my gosh. 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., right? 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Like hour by hour, do this for the entire week to kind of get a sense. For most people, if they just chunk out, they're like, this is when we're at work, this is when we're doing the things with the family, this is when dinner happens or whatever. And then what are all the other pockets that we're filling in, right, on the outside of that time or on the outside of that thing that just are so obvious, right? Oh, I've had, 3 beers with 3 friends this week instead of spending time with my wife. I had, right, even if it's like games that you attended or whatever, or there's the games on TV that I'm into and I watch, or I'm golfing, or I'm watching the golf tournament on TV, or whatever it is that you're doing, right? It kind of pops out or pops up pretty significantly and pretty visibly, makes it really easy to sort of see. And then you can ask yourself, okay, so if I don't need to be doing some of these things 4 or 5 times a week, right? If in theory, if it really matters to us, if it really matters to me that I make the in theory of marriage as a priority for me, like if I make that match my life, it will mean that some of this is going to have to go. And again, it doesn't have to be forever, but for a time until you get your your sort of marriage back in order. I always think about, and this is what like if you had, and for those of you that have kids, think about your 5-year-old, your 10-year-old, even 12-year-old, doesn't matter. But if they come to you and they're like, hey daddy, hey mommy, can we go for a bike ride? And you're like, oh, I'm in the middle of a, video game. They walk away, right? They come 2 days later, or they come 2 hours later, and you're like, oh, I'm still doing whatever it was that I was doing. They come 2 days later and they're like, hey, can we go do this? Can you come help me with something? And you're watching a basketball game then. And then 2 days later they come and you're like on the phone with a friend from college, because, one of your best college buddies or whatever. And you can't, you're like, I'm busy, can't you see I'm on the phone, right? And you send them away. They're going to do that, 5, 7, 10 times tops before they learn, oh, dad, mom is doing this. There's another basketball game on. They're golfing. They are going out to happy hour. They're doing whatever it is that they're doing. And I know the answer. I'm not even going to bother anymore. And I certainly know, right? And as a 5-year-old, they're not going to be able to articulate this necessarily, but they know that I'm clearly not a priority, because all these other things, when I show up, they beat me to the punch, right? I don't make the line. So then I ask, right? And I ask you to transport that to, if that's your spouse, if that's your wife, if that's your husband, and they constantly on repeat hear you say, no, I'm not available, or no, I'm doing this with the girls, no, I'm doing this with the guys, we're going to go camping, or we're going hunting, or we're doing, I'm flying with such and such, or I'm doing, the happy hour, I'm whatever it is that you're spending your time at, right? And sometimes we even kind of, dare I say, legitimize it, right? Where it becomes I already went on 2 walks, but I need one more. Or I need, I went to the gym this morning, but I need to go again this evening. Or I know we saw the family, yesterday, but it's the weekend and we need to see them Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? Extended family now I'm talking, or whatever it may be. We make it, we legitimize, we excuse it, right? It's like, okay, yes, it's important to, what are you talking about? I'm taking care of my health. I'm taking care of my adult friendships. I'm taking care of the family. I'm taking care of the lawn, right? I'm just putzing around and fixing the flowers and fixing the grass and doing whatever, because it needs to look a certain way or whatever. But all the while, right, putting all of these things above where your spouse should be. And so when couples come in and they're like, I'll ask them where they fare, right, where they fall on the list. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know, I'm 5, 7, if I'm lucky, maybe it's 5, right? Like below the kids, the dogs, the lawn, the basketball, the happy hours, the fitness, and then maybe I, my name shows up, right? And then we end up giving each other literally the leftovers, right? Like whatever time is left, that's what you get. And by then I'm exhausted and I'm crabby and I'm, right, I feel like I don't have any more to give. I'm peopled out. And we're not able to connect in a real way. So what is it that you need to say no to? What is it that you're going to remove from your doing, from your schedule, so that you create time for one another? And I'm not just talking about right? The like passing each other in the doorway, right? Like, hi, here's the baton. You know, this is what you need to know. I did feed the kids. If they tell you that I didn't, they did have dinner. So if they ask for whatever, just know that we had food. Or like, I gave the kid the cold medicine, right? So we don't overdose them on whatever they're on because they've been sick for the last, but I'm like on my way out to do whatever it is that I do. And you're coming in to like take over because you've been somewhere else doing something else with somebody else. And it's just this like, right? The like, we're just passing each other by, and I'm on to something else, and you're on to something else in the home. I know that it can be hard. There's so many demands, right? There's so many demands. If ever there were demands on our life, it's now. And it's still it's still the only way to get to the thing that you want, to be able to create some time where you're not rushed, where you're not looking at the clock, right? I'm on to my next thing. You know, you have a timer set or whatever because the game's on in 30 minutes and I only have this time available. Like being able to create the time, being able to match, right, the in theory to the practice. This is what, like, really when we sit with that, she is my priority. You're able to say that our marriage is a priority to both of us. And in order to make that happen, right, how are we going to put our heads together, and what are you going to say no to? And if you're like, I don't know, okay, so we created the time, but I don't know what we would do with that time. How do we then go? How do we figure out what, like, it's been so long, we don't even know how to go about, you know, now we have those pockets in our schedule that we made available for each other. If you don't know what to do with that, I teach my couples and I walk them through this process where they come up with ideas, where they come up with things that they both enjoy doing. I'm going to post the video somewhere that will walk you through how to go about that will set you up for the next 6 months or for the next year of here's how we're doing that purposely, intentionally, and in a way that won't sort of where we won't bring ourselves back to this place where there's that misalignment. We're like, this is really something that's important in our life, and we're making it happen, and we know what to do. So click that video, and I'll see you in the next video.